Right, so yeah, what I want to do today was just kind of share with you three emerging trends we're seeing in web design as specific to the real estate industry. So we've been doing this for a little over 10 years. You see a lot of trends come and go. I actually think right now is one of the most exciting times to be marketing yourself online as a real estate agent, and largely because of these three trends, which we'll be getting into. So the first one I wanted to talk about is that the millennials are coming, and that's a very good thing. And I should probably revise this slide to say that the millennials are here, because the basic stats on this are that they account for now 32% of all home buyers. That's more than any generational cohort. When we talk about millennials, we're talking about people aged 14 to 34. So they're just now getting into the market, but they already account for 32% of buyers. 68% are first-time buyers, which means that by and large, these are buyers that are up for grabs right now. Now is the time to be forming your relationships with this generation and securing them as lifetime clients. Now, in that same year that we collected data this last calendar year, they only accounted for 12% of sales, which makes sense because they're earlier on in the transaction life cycle. A lot of them had a chance to buy but not a chance to sell. Of those who have sold, however, what we've noticed is that they were in their previous residence an average of 5 years, which is almost half the national average of 9 years, which means they're moving twice as often as other generations. This syncs up a lot with what we know about this generation. They're more mobile, more transitional. They're going to be buying and selling a lot more homes over the course of their life. Now, these are not just lateral moves. In fact, the average move-up value between their first and second transaction is $90,000. That's almost twice the national average of just over $45,000. They are moving up the value chain more quickly than any generation in U.S. history. Now, despite the reputation they have as being a little bit difficult to work with and kind of entitled and narcissistic, the reality is that they actually report the highest satisfaction ratings as real estate agents of any generation in the marketplace today. They're easier to work with and easier to please. And when you please them, they self-report as being more likely to refer you business than any generation in U.S. history. So most people see millennials, they see a bunch of tattooed narcissists who live with their parents. When I see millennials, I see a generation of home buyers who buy and sell more homes at higher prices more often, are easier to please and more likely to refer you business when you please them than any generation in U.S. history. Not bad for an ideal client base. But there is something kind of interesting about the way this generation, this is what we're really interested in, is the way this generation evaluates real estate agents, the way they're making choices about who they want to work with. And one of the things that we've realized, we surveyed over 100 buyers and sellers who had recently selected a real estate agent in this generation. And what we found is that they engage in a process called digital vetting. That's a fancy word for something that all of us do on a day-to-day basis. If you were to give me a restaurant recommendation 5 years ago, I'd probably just go to the restaurant and check it out. If you give me a restaurant recommendation today, no matter how much I trust your judgment, the first thing I do is I take out my phone, I check out Yelp, I look at the menu, I look at photos of it, I look at other reviews. And so I go through sort of a secondary vetting process that takes place online. That's when I decide whether or not I'm going to go to that restaurant. We found that millennials are doing this by and large with their real estate agents. And so what they're doing is when they want to find a real estate agent in their area, they'll send out an email, text message, Facebook message, something to that effect. They collect 5 to 15 names back from their friends and family members, and then they go and they digitally vet them. They type these names into Google search bars, they see what internet properties come up. Is it your website? Is it your Zillow reviews, your Yelp reviews, your social media properties if they're set to the public? They're going to evaluate all of this, and then they're going to decide who they want to work with. What was fascinating to us is that in most cases, they were making their selection on the basis of this digital vetting. So of the 5 to 15 agents, only one person would get the phone call. The other ones never knew they were even being evaluated in this digital vetting process. Really fascinating. The second thing that we've realized is that desktop computers are so 2013. You guys have probably seen the trend lines on this, that mobile is really overtaking desktop traffic. This has already happened. So there is now more time spent on mobile devices surfing the internet than there is on desktop and laptop devices. Now, I think it's a little overblown. I've seen some headlines that have predicted that the PC is going to be extinct by 2020. That's actually not what we're seeing. What we're seeing is a much more complicated picture emerge. What's happening is that desktop and laptop usage has actually remained constant for about the last 3 to 5 years. But the total amount of time spent on the internet is rapidly accelerating, and all the increase is in mobile devices. So this is actually what it looks like on a day-to-day basis. And you have kind of this life cycle. And in the morning, people are using their mobile devices to access the internet. They get to work, they start using their PCs and laptops. And then as they get home, they put those PCs and laptops away and they get onto their tablets and start using that while they're kind of watching TV or whatever. So kind of a complicated picture. We see this life cycle as probably being pretty constant for the next several years. And so this is one of the reasons why when we're designing websites, we're looking at having a very coherent experience from device to device. So when they're checking that mobile device in their morning commute, when they get to work, and then when they get home on their tablet computer. One of the things that we really think is important is having an experience that looks good on just about any device size. And you can't really, these days, even think about these 3 devices. The 3 most emergent devices that we're seeing take place in terms of web traffic right now: smart TVs, gaming devices, and smart watches. So these are the 3 things that are going to be the next few interfaces. So really thinking about having a multi-layered approach to looking good on every screen size. The final point there, the final trend that we're seeing, it's Facebook's world. We're just living in it. Social media is accounting for more time spent online than just about anything else right now. In fact, not even close. If you look at, this is the amount of time people are spending online, what they're doing when they get online. Social media is about orders of magnitude higher than anything else, 3 times higher than email, and considerably higher than search. We talk to a lot of agents who are obsessed with how they're going to place higher in SEO rankings, which to be sure is important, but they totally neglect the social media thing, which is actually 9 times more valuable than Google search is optimizing for social media. A couple simple things you can do with this. So for our clients, what we'll do is we'll post blog content to their website a couple times a week. And what this enables us to do is to reach out via social media and post these as status updates, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. By doing this simple step, we're noticing 231% increase in traffic, a 54% increase in leads. It's such a small thing you can do that makes a huge difference. So those are 3 emergent trends we see in web design right now. If you're interested in working with us, we'd love to work with you. If you have any sort of need that you need in the web development space, everything we do is fully custom. So we kind of have a saying in our company that the answer is yes. Now what's the question? We can usually do just about anything you want in the real estate space.